The following is a special presentation of the PDF Sports Network.
You know I'm right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese and Joe. In the past, we've had on World Series champions, we've had on authors, we've had on public speakers, but today we have all three of those things in one awesome guest.
Absolutely. Since his MLB debut in 2011, he's played in parts of 10 MLB seasons with 8 different teams, including winning the 2013 World Series with the Red Sox, and that was a very special World Series with the Boston Marathon bombings early in the season. He's played for the Israeli national team in the 2017 World Baseball Classic, the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and the 2023 World Baseball Classic. We know he's got a book that he wants to push out here during this episode, and we're very, very excited to have him on. Ryan, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Nick and Joe? How you doing?
We're doing good. We're excited to have you on here with us, and we see behind you for everyone watching. Ryan played for many teams. He has a lot of game-worn helmets there. Now, when you get traded or we switch teams, is it pretty easy to take that equipment and stuff with you, or are there equipment managers saying, "Hey, you got to give this back"?
Oh, it's different for each club. Actually, it's funny that you asked that. Did you see the movie Moneyball?
Yes.
Yes.
Where they make Jonah Hill's character send the guy down, and it's like the worst experience of his life, even though he's not being fired. I had that conversation 26 times as the player that was getting sent out. The Red Sox, I was up and down for 4 years, eight different call-ups, 8 different send-downs. The Braves, the Orioles, all these teams. And I'd say maybe the one where I definitely didn't get a uniform was with the Cincinnati Reds. The clubhouse manager came over to me. He said, "Hey, the manager wants to see you. Sorry." And by the time I went to the manager's office to get sent down and came back, my locker was packed for me, and none of the gear was in it.
Jeez. So you're a catcher, of course, so you have extra gear. And a lot of times we see catchers either, get traded or they're going up and down from AAA to the majors. How do you get set with the correct color scheme for your chest protector and knee pads and shin guards?
There's been a couple times where I didn't have the right color gear for a day or two, but my catcher's gear companies were always on top of it. You're on TV the most of anyone on the field as a catcher, so your chest is basically a billboard for these companies, so they want to make sure you look good. One funny story is when I left the Orioles, I had orange cleats, and I went to the Braves in AAA, and they had a organizational rule that you had to wear black cleats, at least 50%. So one of my teammates ended up taking a black Sharpie and drawing all over my cleats to make it black, and I was on a hitting streak. So then even when I got black cleats in, I kept using the orange one covered in Sharpie.
That's hysterical. That's great. And is it really as hard as it looks to catch a fly ball in foul territory behind the plate?
Oh yeah. It's I'd say that's the hardest skill and maybe the least practiced skill that we do, because I think of the trajectory of those fly balls like like the breast cancer ribbons that you have pins of. It goes up. It's normally a little forward. It has so much spin on it that it ends up going back over the stands and always comes back towards the pitcher's mound, no matter where it goes in foul territory. So knowing that helps, but it tricks your eyes in the air because it seems like it's going to land somewhere where it doesn't.
And did you find there were certain fields that were tougher for the catcher? Like Oakland comes to mind for me. It's pretty big, a lot of foul territory, but what are your takes on different fields benefiting your game?
From the defensive perspective, it's all about vision, right? How is the batter's eye? These pitchers nowadays are throwing upwards of 100 miles per hour. It's almost never straight. They're throwing sliders and fork balls and splitters all at 92, 93 miles per hour. So if you can't see it, or there's a bad shadow, or there's fans or something shiny right at the release point, it gets really hard.
What would you say was the hardest pitch for you to catch or frame?
Oh, well, that's easy. I tied the major league record for most passed balls in one inning, catching knuckleballs.
Yeah. Tough.
It's like trying to catch a butterfly with chopsticks.
Right. Now, I know you're an analyst these days. We'll get to that. It seems like the toughest pitch these days to catch might be the Ghost Fork by Kodai Senga. What have you seen of that pitch, and how do you think you'd be able to track that in?
We saw Senga come into town. He pitched against the Rockies, so I was locked in on that game because I was working the pre and post game show for the Rockies on that day. And I think it's pretty clear why they call it the Ghost Fork, because you can't see it, right? You swing at it and it's just invisible, and it's pretty cool to see. I was fortunate enough to work with Daisuke Matsuzaka when he came over from Japan, and he was throwing the gyro ball, which again it's a pitch that we've seen. Ultimately, a gyro ball is just a bad slider. It's got slider spin and it doesn't do anything, but it tricks your eye because as major leaguers, you've hit hundreds of thousands of sliders in your life. And when you see that spin, it's supposed to do something. So you swing where you think the ball's going to go, and the ball just doesn't go there. So when Kodai Senga throws that splitter, it's so deceptive and different than what anybody else throws that it's pretty fun to watch.
For sure. So when in Little League or high school, whatever it may be, did you decide, let me be a catcher?
Oh boy, I first caught when I was 7 years old, and it was mostly because I was the only one on my team that wasn't afraid to do it. And then we had a player. I was a very late bloomer, so when I got to high school, I ended up not catching one game on the varsity team in high school.
Wow.
Because we had a kid in my grade who hit puberty like 12 years before I did, and he was just a grown man in high school, and I was still soft around the edges and growing, and elbows and knees. So to this day, my high school coach they retired my number at the high school. It was very nice of them. I went back and he said, I still think Sammy should have played ahead of you. And I'm like, and I still agree.
Did you ever look into playing another position or no?
I had to, or my career would have ended in high school. Luckily, my dad, he used to drive us to elementary school every day. And there was two things that he always pounded into my head growing up, two lessons that I still take with me to this day. And I share them with kids, and I'll share them with you. The first one was, I don't care how well you do as long as you give your best. And he praised effort, and he praised perseverance. And I saw something from Huberman recently that, they did a study with kids where if you praise them for doing well on a test and their performance versus you praise them for trying hard, then in the next test, the people you praise for trying hard are going to do better in the next test. So maybe there's some science behind my dad praising effort. I don't know that he knew it at the time, but he always just said we had to give our best. And the second thing he said was, I don't care if you're the second best player in the whole world at your position. If the first best player is on your team, you better be able to play somewhere else, or you're never going to see the field. So I had that idea that I needed to be flexible and be a team player, really is what it's all about, pounded into me from a young age. So when I was in high school, luckily I could hit. And my high school coach said, go stand in the outfield so we can get your bat in the lineup.
Really, really, really good advice. It worked. And eventually you attended Yale, which is incredibly impressive, and you studied philosophy there. So talk to us about that.
It was an unbelievable experience. From the time I was 5 years old, I always wanted to play in the major leagues. And I knew I probably should have gone to a better baseball school. But like I said, I was a late bloomer. I was playing a position that was not my main position. So Yale ended up being both my best academic option and my best baseball option. It was Division I baseball. At the time, Yale was ranked 270th out of 271 D1 teams.
Wow.
And I came to find out later that at the time, they had never produced a major league hitter. Luckily, I didn't figure that out till after I was the first one. And my go-to line now is that even now, Yale has produced more U.S. presidents than Major League Baseball hitters. But I absolutely loved my time there. I had a great time. I met a lot of my best friends for the rest of my life. And I got to play as a freshman, which I think was really helpful also.
Yeah. So by far, you're the best position player in the history of Yale. You won the NCAA batting title, batting .467 in 2007. You set the Ivy League hitting streak record for 25 games in a row, and you're the all-time home run record holder in the Ivy League with 33. So when in your time in college there, did you realize, okay, maybe I do have a shot to get drafted here to the majors?
It was after my sophomore year when I did all those things that you just listed. But the origin story of that performance started the year before. After my freshman year, I saw our first baseman, Mark Sawyer, get awarded an All Ivy League award. And I thought that was like a good reach goal that I should strive for. And I told our hitting coach, Glenn Lungarini, he was a volunteer assistant hitting coach, and he had probably one of the most influential conversations with me that I ever had. Was he said, "Why not more, Ryan? If you go for all Ivy League, that's great. But if you're not an All-American by the time you graduate, I'll be disappointed in you, because you have that kind of ability. You just haven't realized it yet." And that was crazy to me, because I had heard of All-American, obviously, but I had never related to it. I had never aspired to it. And come to find out, again, this is research I've done more recently now that I'm getting into public speaking. I didn't realize at the time, Yale baseball had not had an All-American player since before the year I was born. In my lifetime, they had none. So when I decided that was going to be my goal, I ended up working harder. I ended up setting my standards higher, and I started doing things that were borderline nuts to work that hard, because I knew I needed to do more than anybody else would, so that I could do more than anybody else could.
So you have a great career there, set all the records, and you get drafted. So you get drafted. It's a real high. You're like, all right, this is exciting. I'm going to be in the majors in a few years. Catchers take a little longer, but it's not glitz and glam once you report to rookie ball and low A, and you're taking the bus. So tell us about the challenges of minor league baseball and just the grind. And thinking back now, if there's anything that you would tell somebody who was just drafted this year, what they could expect, because it's really tough. The living conditions are rough. Now things are a little different. There's been some new laws passed in, but eating nutritionally is very tough. You're probably getting a ton of fast food or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I used to work for the Brooklyn Cyclones for a little bit, so I saw some of the conditions, but just give us your thoughts on that whole grind, that whole experience in the minors.
I think you hit it right on the head. It was an absolute grind. When I showed up, I was intimidated, right? I went to Yale, where I was the best player the minute I stepped on campus. And then I go to pro ball, and I specifically remember two memories. The first day I walked in the clubhouse, and the team already had 3 catchers, and this was short season lull. They're like, "We don't need another catcher." And I was like, "Hi, I was assigned to this team. What do you want me to do about it?"
Right.
And then when I showed up to spring training, and there was 200 players plus 26 catchers, and I'm like, I'm supposed to beat out all these guys? Like, how the heck am I going to do that? These guys were all the best players on every team they ever played on their entire life also. And I was really intimidated, and it was really a mental challenge, a mental hurdle to overcome. But you also mentioned the conditions. That first season in Lowell, I remember the team provided pregame meal was peanut butter and fluff. And at the time, our salary was $1,500 a month, and you only got paid for 5 months. So we were making $7,500 a year and living on Subway $5 footlongs. That was what we were fueling ourselves to be elite athletes. So it's definitely a challenge. It's definitely something that it's an added challenge in addition to playing against the aspiring best players in the world. But I loved it. I loved the grind. I was one of the lucky ones that made it to the big leagues pretty quick, and I had a signing bonus to help carry me through. So the financial burden wasn't as high on me as it was on a lot of my teammates, which I recognize. But some of those guys, they work at a Home Depot in the off season, or they teach, they substitute teach, and then they try to get their workouts in the afternoon. It's definitely a grind.
And MLB has done things over the years to try to change that a little bit. And recently they've made news headlines regarding that. But you talk about getting through the minor league systems very quick. You made your MLB debut with the Boston Red Sox in 2011. And your first start as a catcher, you hit 2 home runs, kind of alleviated that anxiety a little bit of getting there. But here you are, major city, major organization, a team that had won multiple championships recently within the last 10 years, breaking the 86-year curse, and they won again in 2007. But here you are, you won the Red Sox September of 2011. So what was it like reaching the majors? How did you get acclimated? How does that whole process work? And it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows, because the following season was Bobby Valentine's season with the Red Sox, and that was very tumultuous in a very short period of time. So explain that from getting there to being there for that next season, and kind of the emotional ebbs and flows that were with you at that time.
Yeah, so many emotions getting called up. My dream come true from the time I was 5 years old. Can't believe it. My family flies out, my friends fly out. I'm on this high, right? Only 7% of high school players get to play in college. Only 9% of college players get drafted. Only 16% of players that get drafted play one day in the big leagues. So just getting that call up, I was already one of the 0.05%, and I deserved it, right? I was killing it in AAA to earn that call up. And I got called up because David Ortiz, his Achilles was hurting him. And I go up and I do my thing. I got my first hit. My family's in the stands. And then 8 days later, David Ortiz feels fine, and they say, "Thank you very much." So go down to the minor league. So it was a high and then a low. And, I feel like I got fired from my dream job, but I want them to rehire me. I get called back up 10 days later. I'm playing great. The team was playing great. And if you'll remember, when I first got called up, the team could not lose. The Red Sox in 2011 had a 15-game lead in the division. I got sent back down to AAA. Hurricane Sandy rolls through. They play a doubleheader. A couple guys are banged up. When I got called back up that second time, that was the chicken and beer collapse, if you remember. Yep. They started blaming, drinking beer in the clubhouse, eating fried chicken. So here I am, this rookie. I've been doing great in the minors. I've been playing every day. Now I'm called up to a team that has 12 players with 10-year service time, which you won't find anymore. Guys don't get that kind of seniority. So I was very much the quiet mouse in the corner of that clubhouse, trying to not get noticed for the wrong reasons. And the team couldn't win. And then Theo Epstein gets run out of town. Terry Francona gets run out of town. Bobby Valentine's there the next year. And that it was just a tough year. We couldn't win. Bobby Valentine runs out of town. And then 2013, very different story. We have John Farrell as the manager. We signed a couple key free agents that changed the whole shape and the whole culture of that clubhouse.
And I also wanted to ask you specifically about the day of the Boston bombings, because I think from the very, very get-go of that season, that specific team rode a wave of momentum that just absolutely did not stop, carry them through the playoffs. That memorable ALCS game against the Tigers with the cop out in right center field. You guys won the World Series that year. And again, it was just like this wave of momentum that just carried you the whole way, did not let up at any point during the season. What was it like being in the clubhouse for that specific year, to see how the players were able to rebound from a very horrible situation, and you get to live out the dream of being around a team that won a championship, right? So explain the playoffs and the excitement there.
Yeah, so it started in spring training. The first day I met Johnny Gomes, I said, "Hey, Johnny, nice to meet you. I'm Ryan." He said, "Hey, I'm great. I'm one day closer to the World Series parade." I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." Like, we just came in dead last year. New manager, low expectations. This guy's talking about the World Series parade on day one. And that conversation continued. And it wasn't there was never a worry about jinxing it. It was more of if we don't talk about it, how's it supposed to happen? So that was very cool. And that was the message always. This is our goal. This is what we're going to do. And we really leaned into that it was new at the time. The Drake song, Started from the Bottom, Now We're Here. That was our theme song. And they played it every day as we were getting ready to take the field. And then the Boston bombings happened, and we were all shocked, right? I think like everybody was. We couldn't believe it happened here at home where we live. This isn't supposed to happen here. And Will Middlebrooks, one of my teammates, started that hashtag Boston Strong. And that was, again, the message of we're going to overcome this, and we're going to come together as a city and as a team. And then David had that really memorable speech where he cursed on live TV, and the head of the FCC shook his hand and said, that's exactly what we needed right now. Where nobody's going to dictate our freedom. And we understood that we were no longer playing baseball just to play baseball. We were playing baseball to serve as a distraction for people, to serve as a sense of normalcy, to give them something to rally around, to give them something to celebrate. And we really felt the support and the meaning and the something bigger than ourselves that was, this is what the city needs right now. And we carried we're going to win the World Series. We're going to do it for the city of Boston.
So as Nick mentioned, you got a lot of helmets behind you. You bounced around from team to team. It's not all great, right? So talk to us about bouncing around, getting calls, hey, and then moving around and having to kind of upend
Find
your
somewhere
life
to
a little
live.
bit.
How'd you do
Yep.
that every time?
Yeah, no, they say that moving your primary residence is one of the 5 most stressful times of your life. And over the last 12 years of my career, my wife and I moved 56 times. I paid rent in 33 cities across this country, and we got really good at breaking leases. No, it was in the business of baseball, it's unfortunately not always the best player that plays. Sometimes it's the contract guy. If they're paying him, he's going to play, whether he's hot, whether he's cold, whether, if you made an all-star game, you get a label, right?
Yeah.
Early in my career, I got a label as the catcher that was going to hit, that might catch enough, maybe not. And later in my career, my defense was actually a strength of mine, but I had the label. So I was a really, really great insurance policy for teams, a third catcher that could step in, not pee down my leg when you put me in front of 40,000 people. It's going to call a great game, going to be a great guy in the clubhouse, a leader. But ultimately, in my career, my downfall was that they didn't trust my defense. So as a position where defense is valued more than offense, that ended up being my label. And I have a lot of things to be proud of in my career. And I definitely want more.
So Ryan, where do you live right now? And give us, let's say, your 3 favorite cities you got to experience during all those moves.
So we live in Denver. My wife grew up here. We live near her family's our support system. It's great here. You want major league towns or minor league towns? Because I've lived in
Up to
33.
you, whatever you enjoy the most.
So we loved big league towns. Boston's great. We love that it's an outdoor city. It's a big city, but it still feels manageable, and the sense of community there is really great. And the T system, the public transportation system, is awesome. Good food, good trail system. All the things that we value. We're big foodies, so we loved Portland, Maine. Huge restaurant scene, but you don't want to be there in the winter,
Too cold. Nothing like a Northeast summer, though. It's always
gorgeous.
the best. We're in the Northeast. We're in New York. Joe spent some time in New Jersey, down Jersey Shore. So
yeah. So I played for all these teams, right? Since you're in New York, I could say this to you. I played for all these teams. One of the teams I played in the minor leagues for and never in the big leagues for is the New York Yankees. But my wife's grandparents were huge Yankees fans, so I have these
Hey,
coffee mugs. It's the only team
Wow.
I ever got a gift about from that I played for, and they're just the perfect size. So I never played in the big leagues for the Yankees. I'm a Red Sox guy till I die. But these coffee mugs are just the perfect size, you know?
but the Red Sox never sent you coffee mugs, huh?
Well, maybe if someone from the Red Sox hears this pod, they'll get
Listen,
some mugs.
I think you'll take the World Series ring over the coffee.
Uh,
We'll see that. But you mentioned food, and I always ask this question to anybody in their profession. Which clubhouse had the best food in the majors, of course, not the peanut
Yeah.
butter with fluff sandwiches? And give me your pregame and postgame eating routine.
Oh man, so the New York Yankees visiting clubhouse, by far best food. I swear they're using it as a tactic to try to slow you down because
Yeah.
there's 5 short order cooks, there's short rib, there's like foie gras before the game. It's borderline outrageous how good the food is. And you have to try to not eat yourself out of the league, you know?
Yeah.
Split your pants. It's so good. Philly, they make the best cheesesteaks in Philly are in the visitors clubhouse. They
Yeah.
make them fresh, and they do a competition on the wall of who can eat the most as an individual and as a team in a 3-game series and a 4-game series. So those are always really good.
Yeah. I remember like a few years ago, the Mets set a record, and I
Yeah,
think Bartolo Colon led the way. And it was like it was an
sure did.
article. They set the record, but
And again,
yeah,
they do it in the visitors clubhouse, not the home clubhouse, because then you feel gross and you're moving slow on the field.
it's a mental game. They're doing it on purpose. You're right.
Part of it, right?
I think that's how it goes. So for you, how cool was it to see yourself in a video game? MLB The Show.
You know what? I never played it.
All
I'm
right.
not a gamer. I think the last game that I got really good at was Guitar Hero in
Okay.
college.
Fair enough.
I loved that thing. I would like miss classes without even realizing. But it's cool. I always love. I'm a huge fan of fan interaction, so it makes me really happy when fans pull my player card and send it to me. And then my secondary response was like, "Oh, that's so cool. What are my scores? Like, what's my player score?" And I always think it's funny. I'm not a fast runner. One year I was a 4 out of 100 running on the video game, and then the next year somehow I was a 13 out of 100. So I was pretty pumped that I got an upgrade.
Big increase there. 9 points higher. For you, which time of game was the hardest for you? Was it the 1 o'clock with the sun, the 4 p.m. with the shadows, or the 7 p.m. with the lights and the glare?
Yeah, that's a good question. In my career, again, I ended up being a backup for most of my major league career, so I ended up getting a lot of the 1 o'clock games. And I had to wrap my mind around it, right? Because the 7 o'clock games, you have your whole routine, you get a great night's sleep. The team takes batting practice. It's the regular routine, and in general, the 1 o'clock game, there's no BP. You didn't get enough sleep. You're traveling, so you're moving out of the hotel as you go. So I had to really wrap my mind around turning it into an opportunity instead of a game where I wasn't fully prepared. And once I did that, I played much better in day games because I see better during the day was what I told myself. The sun's out, we don't have lights, there's no shadows. Everyone else's routine is thrown off too, so I'm going to be mentally tougher than them. So I started really leaning into this is my game, this is my opportunity, so I'm going to make the most of it.
So you played college baseball in the Northeast. You played a lot of professional baseball in the Northeast and the minors. What is the coldest you've ever been on the baseball field?
Coldest opening day, Portland, Maine.
Oof. 30 degrees?
No, I mean it was frigid. The stands were mostly still covered in snow, and the field was they made the field playable. There's a really cute picture of my wife and one of the other wives in the stands with snowsuits on, hoods on. They've got the snow jacket down to their ankles. They came out to support us for opening day, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome. So Ryan, when you're in a big league career, you were kind of in a transitional period towards the end where you were the traditional catcher. You got to do the signs with your pitcher. Towards the end, the pitch comm comes in. What are your thoughts on that? Because now, what drives me crazy sometimes now with all the rules is the pitch comm isn't working, and then we're going to get a pitch clock violation because the pitch comm isn't working. So how do you feel about this technology coming in to what you specifically did for your career?
Yeah, I think all the sign stealing scandals necessitated it, because in sport, between what happened with Pete Rose and his gambling issues and the sign stealing, you never want to doubt whether it's pure competition. You never want to doubt if there's anything shady going on. So I think the PitchCom takes that question mark out of it, and I love that. I also think it provides the opportunity for pitchers to call signs to the catcher. There's some pitchers that really have an idea of what they want to throw, and then there's other pitchers that just throw whatever the catcher puts down. So it allows for different personalities, different levels of wanting to have control of the situation. I think if there's a PitchCom error, there needs to be a little common sense, and but I think ultimately the PitchCom is helping speed up the game, because you can call the pitch when the pitcher's not looking, before they get on the mound, and even within the shorter time frame, allow the pitcher to have more time to think about what he wants to do with the ball.
Makes sense. So for you, Ryan, it would be for me. I think a career highlight of yours has to be your time playing for Team Israel. 2017, unbelievable run in the World Baseball Classic. Jason Marquez, Staten Island guy like us, absolute tank showing he still had it at that time. Surprised he didn't get signed after that for the season. Again, in the Olympics, you play for them, the World Baseball Classic again. What kind of a great experience is it to play for a country and have that support from the country?
Yeah, Team Israel ended up being a huge transformational moment in my life, not only just my baseball career, and I can get into in a second, but that's why I ended up writing my children's book. I grew up in a household where my mom is Jewish, my dad is Catholic, but we had no religion, right? We had no community outside of the household. So when I played for Team Israel, I qualified because my mom's Jewish, but I saw it as a baseball opportunity. I saw it as, I'm never going to make Team USA, so let's go play in this awesome tournament and see what we can do. And playing on a team of all Jewish players for the first time, seeing the excitement of the community, going to Israel and seeing what it's all about, really changed my life and my perspective, and helped me find really my place in the community, helped me really embrace that side of me and lean into it and say, like, this isn't just half of me, this is all of me. I'll hold this up. That's the story of my kids' book. Playing for Team is my dream. I found a community, and is deeply personal. But I think that theme is universal, right? Everyone has something that they want to love to do, and everyone craves a sense of belonging. So I hope, I'm not down here to just plug my book, but if you want to check it out, it's called Baseball and Belonging, and I think people will love it.
It's out now. Go get it wherever you get your books, right, Joe?
Yeah,
you're a big book guy, Joe. You'll be reading it for sure.
You could show the book again, kind of hold it up.
Yeah, this is it comes out as we're recording this. It comes out today. Anybody that orders it through my website, ryanlavarnway.com, I'm gonna sign them and send them to them. But it's also on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, anywhere you get your books.
All right, I'm gonna have to get it, Joe. As Joe knows, I'm a new father of a 3-week-old, so it'd be a great book for him to read to him as I get him into baseball in a few years. So
yeah, my illustrator is incredibly talented too. I can just show you one of my favorite pictures in the book. The art is so good in it.
Wow.
How about that?
That's great.
That is awesome. So Ryan, from the time you played for the first Israel team in 2017, spent a couple more years in the majors, and then ultimately you made your decision to retire. It's never an easy decision to retire. So what was the thought process like leading up to the decision, ultimately having to make the decision?
Yeah, for me, it ended up being pretty easy for me. I feel like I did, outside of making a Major League All-Star team, I feel like I did everything there is to do in baseball: World Series, Olympics, parts of 10 years in the show, World Baseball Classic twice. And it came down to, we had a daughter last year too. And one of those 26 times that I was sent down, one of those 56 moves across the country, was 9 days after she was born.
Wow.
So I have a 9-day-old. My wife body is still, recovering. And I
Yeah.
had to fly out the next day to join a new team. And ultimately, I don't want to miss her growing up. My family is my priority. And I know how hard it is to work my way back to the big leagues. I got a couple offers to play AAA baseball this year. And I love baseball. I'll always love baseball, but it takes full commitment to bootstrap your way and work your way back up to the big leagues. Especially, I mentioned, I have a label at this point. So with my family being my priority, it was an easy choice for me.
Well, Ryan, if you're ever looking to swing the bat, our softball team, Joe and I, we keep getting to the championship game and losing. So if you're ever in New York, maybe we bring you in as a ringer and put us over the edge.
All right, we could probably arrange that.
Appreciate that. So you're still getting calls, huh?
Oh, well, not anymore. But in spring training,
training.
I got a couple calls. Yeah.
Interesting. Looks like you're still on a couple radars over here.
I am going to play for Team Israel one last time next month, the European Championships. And they named me the first ever captain, which is really, really meaningful to me. So I'm in, but I don't know if I'm in Major League Baseball shape.
Right. But that's still an honor.
Yeah.
Where they look at you as a leader, and ultimately that's probably why you're still getting calls. People can kind of see you in that role behind the plate, even if it is in AAA, it's still a path, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're an on-air analyst now. Nick mentioned that before, lead facilitator over here. And you've gotten into doing a lot more public speaking. And obviously with the job, it entails, being in front of the camera and providing, analysis and stuff like that. So how have you transitioned into that life?
I'm loving it. I love the broadcasting is really fun because I still get to be in a big league stadium. I'm still around the game, talking about the game I love. But the speaking, the motivational speaking and sharing the lessons I've learned, not only from my own career that helped me be my best, but absorbing the best that ever did it, playing with Big Papi, playing with Miguel Cabrera, playing with Dustin Pedroia, learning from Terry Francona, AJ Hinch. These guys have skill sets and have qualities and attributes that are not just baseball specific, that translate directly to successful businessmen, to successful salespeople. And I think there's three levels of leadership that you need to take account for if you want to be successful in business. And I share those lessons from baseball into the business world.
So what would you say in your life or your career, baseball career, or your post-baseball career was your I'm right moment? What I mean by that is a time or place where you wanted to pursue something, you asked somebody for advice. They said, Ryan, that's an awful idea. Don't do that. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And ultimately, you will see why it is that I'm right.
Oh man, three. I didn't know you were going to ask that question. I probably should have known based on the title of the podcast. But immediately, three really quick moments come to mind. In college, my college roommate, his name is David, not Dave, because his parents are serious people, if you know what I mean. And they asked what I wanted to do when I grew up, when I graduated. And I said, I want to play baseball. And I was at Yale University, and they kind of laughed at me. They said, yeah, right. What do you really want to do? So I'm right. In 2017, my agent told me, the guy who's in charge of getting me baseball jobs, out of love, and I'll give him this, out of love, he told me, you went to Yale, you can do something else. You're probably, you're one bad month away from no one ever signing you again. And after 2017, I played in the big leagues for 5 more seasons. I'm right. And then in 2019, I got released by the AAA Yankees, and the next day broke the Reds franchise debut record for most RBIs in a big league debut after being released from AAA. I'm right.
Joe, I think that was the best answer we ever got.
I think that's the best answer we've ever got, because here's why it's the best answer. The little I'm right afterwards, nobody usually does that. And it's kind of like, again, our signature question. It's the signature thing for the podcast. Nobody's ever really thought to do that before you did it. So we're very appreciative for that. I think it's going to do really well when it comes to doing social clips and stuff like that. Ryan, I do have a last question for you before we let you go. Let's say baseball didn't work out for you. What did you want to do?
Man, I've got that question a ton. a ton, and I've never come up with a good answer for it. Because I was a Will Smith the rapper fan growing up, and in one of his songs, you know, the clean, no cursing songs, no plan B, it distracts from plan A. And that's always been something that I live by, where if you're going to be great at anything, there needs to be a level of obsession, and you need to really commit yourself to it. And I did. You know, I went to Yale was my backup plan. So I had that education to fall back on, but what I would do with that, like my wife and I were talking last night, like I think of a 9-to-5 job, a regular job, as like an industry that I'm not in. But what field would I actually go into? I have no idea.
Would have probably been a lot less traveling, right?
Probably.
Ryan, we thank you for your time. We really, really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck moving forward and everything that you do. Guys, go check out the book. You could show the book one more time. You could order it. Again, if you order from Ryan's website, he'll sign it for you and he'll send something over. So kudos to you. Congratulations on everything. And what we do here is we give our guests the last word. So if there's anything else you would like to share for yourself or promote for yourself, by all means, go ahead, Ryan. Appreciate your time again.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. This has been really fun. I'm Ryan Lavarnway. Check me out on my website, ryanlavarnway.com. I'd love to share this book with you, Baseball and Belonging. And if you have a meeting, an annual conference, or you want me to motivate your people, bring me in to speak. I think I have a great message to share.
Absolutely. We love this interview. Very motivational, very philosophical. Back to that Yale background there. And everyone go check out Baseball and Belonging. Ryan, this has been fantastic. So that's going to do here for this episode of You Know I'm Right for our very special guest, Ryan Lavarnway. For my co-host, Joe Calabrese, I am Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.